Halloween
forever.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, have you ever been to Scotland?
I know.
By chance? No, me neither. I always wanted to go. Visit the moors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's like supposed to be really spooky out there. Feel like I'm in American Werewolf in London or something. You know, it's supposed to be pretty spooky. You know, stay off the moors and all that mess. Did you hear about that story about the group of witches that went over to visit Scotland and visit the moors? It was apparently so spooky. You say, how spooky is it? It was so spooky over there that even some of the witches were too scared to hang out on the moors at night. But you know what they say.
What do they say, Brian?
If you can't take the peat, get out of the coven. Welcome.
What the fuck?
To very spooky Minisode of Halloween's Forever. I'm Brian.
I'm Champ. But I don't feel like Champ when you
That was a stretch. It wasn't a great one, guys. This isn't a great movie. It doesn't deserve a great joke. But I did. Really, what I meant was like if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. But I kind of did like can't stand the heat, get out of the oven, because that's what rhymes with coven, and it was peat. In the moors, and oh boy, it was a stretch. It was a long way to go. Not a great payoff, but
I feel like,
guys,
I feel like there's a lot of other directions you could have went, and then like there's directions I was thinking you were gonna go. So
all right, let's punch this thing up. Let's dig deep on this.
So I guess if you want to stick with your original punchline of like, if you can't stand the peat, stay out of the coven, and it's about like a coven of witches who go on a whiskey tasting tour of all the island Scots.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I thought this joke was somehow going to end with Iron Brew. Because
that would have been a deep
because we're talking witches, and the movie was talking brujas because that's bruja. So I thought it was going to be
No, I didn't put that much thought into it. Just a real weak pun. All right. Well, with that nonsense out of the way, guys, another mini-sode here, and we are doing a fairly newly released Netflix horror situation. We're going to be talking about The Old Ways. This was a listener suggestion, I believe, right, Steve?
Yes, from Twitter follower, oh my God, Sarah Sue. She reached out and she gave us 2 suggestions of movies. And one of them was the Autopsy of Jane Doe, which I know you've seen.
I have seen, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought maybe we should go with The Old Ways because I didn't think either of us had seen it, and it was on my list because I wanted to see this movie, and then there's another kind of old Mexican folklore themed film that I saw called No One. I believe it's called No One Gets Out Alive. Yeah, No One Gets Out Alive.
Yeah, I think I watched that one as well. If I'm not mistaken.
That one has the awesome fucking Aztec god moth monster at the end.
Yeah, I saw that one. That one's I did enjoy that one.
Yeah.
This one, we'll see. We haven't really talked about it. I don't know how you're feeling about it. I was not too keen on it for a variety of reasons, which we will talk about here on the show. Sorry, Sarah, up front. Any case, we're going to jump into this here in a dang old second, but we got a whole bunch of shit we got to do at the top of the show first. Before we do that, before we do anything else, really, let's get a dang old beer in us, Stevie boy. What do you got over there?
I have a very old can of beer because I didn't realize I got it out of a damn mix and match. Sometimes you get boomed in the mix and match.
You do, but sometimes that's where old beer goes to die.
Yeah, but it's a well, and I'll tell you why I didn't think it was an old one, because they're new to the Pittsburgh area. So I didn't think I was going to get boomed, but it's a Three Floyds Barbarian Haze IPA.
Yeah. Okay.
So I didn't think they were around long enough to have old stuff in giant nickel coolers.
Yeah, I want to say it was like, when did they hit the market? In the spring?
That's what I thought, but this one apparently was packaged in February of this year.
Maybe it got sent out to wholesalers, that makes sense. Maybe it got sent out to wholesalers in March. It hit the market in April, and it's been sitting around since. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but oh well.
Well, that sucks for you.
It doesn't taste terrible. It's just there's a whole bunch of shit floating around in it, though. I don't know. Yeah,
a lot hazy IPAs. Hazy IPAs ain't supposed to sit around that long, even if they are good shelf stable ones. But you know what? I'm going with an old feller that he ain't gonna steer you wrong here. This is the pride of old Milwaukee, Milwaukee Flock of Flame itself. We're doing Miller High Life here. Ain't nothing wrong with a Miller High Life. Lady in the Moon. Just gonna sit here and slam on a couple of these High Lifes. I was at the Walmart. Because I was looking for a bunch of spooky ass Halloween cereals. And I don't really buy beer at the Walmart too often, usually just because in Pennsylvania, they make it a big old hassle to buy beer, all the legislation and whatnot. So I'm there in the morning. It's half the time there's not somebody at the the actual specific register you have to check out with in Pennsylvania. It's but I walked by and it was Lacey and I said, okay, I'm going to grab some beer here real quick. And I saw a 12-pack of High Life bottles just winking at me from the cooler. And I hadn't bought it in a while, and I forgot how damn cheap it is and how good it is. So I'm just slamming on some High Lifes. Is
that it's kind of like a Marie Kondo's type of thing. It just sparks joy in you, and you just have to pick it up.
It's just good. It's just a good, incredible. You could drink 100 of them. It's cheap. I like me some High Life, and I haven't had it. It's probably been, probably 6 months since I had a High Life. It's too long. So get me filled up with a couple of them. Like I said, we got some other things we got to take care of here. First of all, this is the time of year. Spooky season is upon us, whether you like it or not. If you're one of those psychos that wait until October 1st, fine. Fuck you. Stay out of, don't piss in my Cheerios here. It's spooky season as far as I'm concerned. I'm putting up the fucking Halloween decorations over here. It's mid-September. I don't give a shit. We get a lot of listeners this time of the year. A lot of new listeners jumping on board. Welcome to the podcast. You're fair weather fans as far as we're concerned. Until we start hearing from you in March. Nah, actually, we appreciate you being here. But here's what it boils down to. If you're new to the show, we do this delicious, crispy, yummy, fresh content on Monday every single damn week. But on the first Monday of every single month, we do what's called a showdown episode. And as you might imagine, October, that'd be a big showdown episode for us. Spooky season. We were talking about a dang old podcast called Halloween's Forever. Normally, you got me, you got Steve, and then we got a guest, and they show up. We each pick a movie that's associated with our topic for that month. I'll explain to you how we get that topic here in a second. Once we get that topic, we each pick a movie associated with it, and then that's when the gloves come off. Usually, you'll see Steve over there wrap his fists up. He'll dip his fist in caramel, and then in gummy bears, and then in little shards of Heath bar. And those Heath bar shards hurt. They'll cut your face if he hits you hard enough.
You know what I'm really looking to fuck people up with?
What's that?
The candy apple shell.
Oh yeah, that's hard. Especially if you let it cool a little too much before you dip it, you get a thick sumbitch on there. Yeah. You might as well just go swinging at somebody with a fucking Myles Garrett style with your helmet.
It's like a broken bottle. I'm gonna bleed you the hard way.
That's gonna happen here in October. Normally that's what we do, but in October this year we're gonna do something a little special. We're gonna do what's called a fatal 4-way match. It's going to be me. It's going to be Steve. Not only are we going to have reoccurring guests, fan favorite, friend of the podcast, Bigfoot Ben on here, but we're also going to have the return of the bog hag herself. Fresh off of a bog hag summer, getting into horse girl season, which is to say fall. We got Meg, former co-host of the podcast, coming back for her first return appearance as a guest. We got Ben, we got Meg, we got Steve, we got Brian. We're going to have a fucking burner here for you guys. And that's what's going to happen in October. Now, normally, we pick this topic by doing this big old spinny ass wheel of topics. Then we each pick a movie associated with that topic. Not this time. Not October, honchos. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do a little fucking different this month. We got that same old spinny ass wheel, but me and Steve packed that sumbitch with 69 different flavors of hell coming your way. We put 69 different Halloween movies. Now, these are movies we have not done on the podcast for. So Halloween 1978, for example, we've done that sumbitch before. We ain't going to do it again. But Halloween 3 Seasons of the Witch, we have not officially discussed in an episode of the podcast. So that is going to be on there. But we have 69 different movies that either are themed, like the word Halloween is in the name, or jack-o'-lantern or something like that, or they take place and are heavily feature the holiday of Halloween. Okay, so we're going to spin this son of a bitchin' wheel 4 times, and because Steve is the defending champ, he won that September Showdown. We are going to have him spin it 4 times, and he's going to say who's going to go first, who's going to go second, third, fourth, and we're going to assign each one of us a movie. We don't have any say in it. Now, when we pick this list, we got some fucking gems on there, right? We got some masterpiece level movies, but we also got couple old landmines on there, couple of just absolute pieces of dog shit, and
couple
then we have
whammies.
a couple whammies and a couple of kind of wild card picks on there that like you could probably turn lemons into lemonade with this, or maybe if you got the right person or something like that. So it's gonna be exciting. This is WrestleMania for us. The October Showdown. This is our WrestleMania. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to turn it over to Steve. You got to tell us the order in which we're going to do these things.
Yes. So welcome to the Wheel O Ween.
Wheel O Ween.
That's what we're calling it, and we'll probably keep this for a bit. Or we'll have the Wheel O Ween spinning. We'll see if it comes back next year. I like it so far, even though we haven't even.
I'm big on this idea.
Yeah.
I'm all in on this idea. I love it.
I like the Wheel O Ween because we got a whole bunch of shit on here that, like, I'm not going to say that there's not kids movies on here, because there are.
Yeah.
So
there might be a Hubie Halloween on there. Who knows?
Yes, there might be a Hubie Halloween. Somebody might have put a Scooby-Doo movie on there. So
I love it. If it ain't Witch's Ghost.
It's not Witch's Ghost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll see if it comes up, but yeah, we got a bunch of things going on there. So without further ado, I will announce in which order this wheel will pick for us. And
how's this going to go?
I'm just going to go. I'm going to let Ben. He's going to get his pick first.
Okay.
We're going to have Meg get her pick next.
Okie dokie.
Then Brian.
Yeah. All right.
And I'll go last.
This.
Yeah, I'll go last.
You know what? I could have guessed this. That's a prudent pick. That's a prudent order, rather. So, all right, let's spin that son of a bitch. Let's spin that Wheel O Ween and see what Big Fit Ben's going to end up with. I heard somebody suggest specifically that they were hoping he was going to get Hubie Halloween. So we'll see. That was Pittsburgh Beer Dad, by the way. friend of the podcast.
Friend of the podcast. So
I have not seen this movie. Are you? I'm vaguely familiar with it. I have not seen it. Have you seen this one, Steve?
I have to think about it. I don't think I have. It sounds familiar, but I'm also thinking of like a Korean drama TV show that I've been watching.
Okay.
No, I have not seen this movie. Yeah, I'm just getting it confused with a Korean drama. No. Ben has drawn for him, or rather the Wheel O Ween has selected for Ben, Hellions from 2015.
Yeah, this is one I think I put on there, and it was one that I got off of like a list online of like, hey, underrated Halloween movies kind of thing. And I looked into it, and there's a bajillion movies out there that, claim to be Halloween movies or apparently are set during Halloween. Even something like The Exorcist, like it is technically set over Halloween, but it has very little very little to do with the holiday. So we're not putting that on there. This is one that people did specifically suggest has a lot to do with Halloween. So this is one of the ones I put on there that I thought to be kind of a little bit of a wild card there. So I'm excited that I'll be watching a movie for this here showdown that I've never seen before. Yeah,
this could really put Ben on the edge. He's coming in with something we've never seen before. He gets a surprise jump on everybody, and plus we don't know what we're going to get, but let's find out what Meg gets.
All right, let's see it. The wheel, it is a spinning. It's a lot of shit on this here wheel.
A lot of shit on this wheel.
Meg's going to get the Funhouse Massacre. So this is a movie that I have seen, although I will say I don't remember a ton about it. But I have seen this before. I'm checking the year. It's relatively recent.
Yeah, it's a movie I put on the wheel because I've seen it.
I'm getting mixed up with something else then.
Well, you might be thinking you're mixing it up with something, but it's actually just very similar. You might be thinking it's like Haunt because it is like Haunt. But Haunt is a much more vicious and like serious movie, whereas the Funhouse Massacre is a lot more fun and campy. But it basically boils down to, a group of people go into a fun house, a carnival fun house for Halloween, like a Phantom Fright Nights, sure, if you will. But turns out it's dang old populated full of killers, actual killers, and that. What are you gonna do?
Spookums aplenty. This is a heck of a cast here. We got Robert Englund. We got Jerry Burns. We've got one Mr. Clint Howard. So there is a lot going on in this movie, and that's what Meg's going to be defending. And I've not seen this either. So we got two movies right off the top, never seen before. Holy shit.
Brian's vote's the one to win. Sounds like.
There's a lot going on here, guys. A lot to think about. A lot happening. All right. I can't take the suspense any longer. What movie? The wheel be spinning for old Bry. What am I going to end up with here? Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I like that. Okay. All right. I've seen this movie. Big fan of the book as a kid. A lot of nostalgia around it. Watched the movie when it came out. Remember liking it. Excited to watch it again. A lot of spooky, ooky, Halloweeny vibes in that thing. So, all right, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. That's what your boy's going to be talking about, which is from, 2020 maybe?
Yeah, somewhere in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I actually hadn't seen it.
2019.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I actually hadn't seen it, though. Like, I know it was on my list because obviously Guillermo del Is associated with it. And it's just one of those things like, hey, so many things get backed up. You forget what's going on.
I like it. I'm not mad. It's better than Ghosts of Mars.
Sure.
Steve's got Trick or Treat. Not Trick or Treat. Not Trick or Treats. Not simply Trick, but Trick or Treat from 1987. 86 rather.
86.
So this is a very different animal than the ones that we got here. This is actually I like this movie a lot. I don't know that it's going to be for everyone, but we'll see. This has listen, I would go as far as to say an iconic character. What do they call him? Rock's chosen god, Sammy Kerr.
Oh yeah,
is the kind of main villain, but also potentially anti-hero-ish. You got some Gene Simmons in this movie as well. It's a weird one. It's a fun one. A lot of cool imagery. Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't be mad. At that one.
No, I'm not mad at it. What is it? It's Gene Simmons plays the radio DJ, and Ozzy Osbourne plays a televangelist, I believe is how it goes.
I believe he is. Televangelist or telemar or like home shopping-y type of thing. One or the other, I can't remember. But
I'm pretty sure it's televangelist because it's specifically like played against his Satanist normal character. So right. Yeah.
Rock's chosen warrior.
That's what it is.
Sandy Kerr.
It's a good movie. It's not totally dissimilar from Black Roses.
It's like Black Roses, but without as cool a makeup.
Not as many puppets. Not so many puppets, but I'm not mad at this, but I know I have an uphill battle because I think I got you on my side, depending on how these other movies shake out for you. But I feel like I'm not going to have Meg, but I might have Ben, but I might have Meg as well because of the rock and metal element. So
there is a big metal element, although it's a little more hair metal-y perhaps. But in any case, the thing I like about these picks is, and what I was worried about a little bit was the situation you get where, like last year, I'm just dead in the water right off the bat.
Right, yeah.
Because I Ghosts of Mars, and I'm going up against like The Thing and Halloween, so I'm fucked.
Well, that was the first year. Last year.
Oh yeah, that was 2 years ago.
Last year we all got pretty good picks.
Was it? Was that last year? I can't remember.
Yeah, because last year it was
multiple ones mixed up.
Last year I had Halloween, and I think Meg got The Thing, and you had. Oh, maybe you did have something else that put you dead in the water.
Yeah, I had something that was just like, it wasn't, it was just a stinker, I feel like. So I was dead in the water. So I almost feel like it was Ghosts of Mars. Wasn't it Ghosts of Mars, Halloween, and The Thing?
No, Ghosts of Mars was definitely the first year, because the first year was all stinkers, because it was Ghosts of Mars, Village of the Damned, and his last one, The Ward.
Oh, The Ward. Yeah, I don't even remember what I had last year then. But I was dead in the water. These are three like relatively, evenly matched movies. I feel like everyone's in the same, category here. Not category in terms of like subgenre, but just like maybe in the same weight class, I'll say.
Yeah.
No one's gotta go up or down.
Yeah, no. And it's also interesting because so I've seen the Funhouse Massacre and I like that movie. So like Hellions and Scary Stories have to do work for me. Yeah. Whereas you've seen Trick or Treat and you like Trick or Treat. So the other two movies have to do work for you to get you to vote for them. And I don't know where Ben and Meg sit, but.
Yeah, the only tricky thing for me that and I would suggest that this shouldn't get held against me is mine is PG-13.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, hey, there were children films on this. The Scooby-Doo movie I put on was, if funny enough, because we were talking Gene Simmons, it's Scooby-Doo and Kiss and the like Halloween Mystery or some shit like that.
Oh, okay. I don't know that one. I was hoping it was, listen, Witch's Ghost, great one. Or if you've ever had, I think it's called like Cyber Attack or something. It's like, sounds absolutely asinine, but it's actually fucking awesome. Big Scooby-Doo guy over here. In any case, so mine's the only PG-13 one, but it's still got some cool, creepy elements to it. But it's definitely like a kind of a, a teen movie a little bit more, but in any case. All right. So just to recap here, Ben's going to be talking about Hellions from 2015. Meg's going to be talking about the Funhouse Massacre, also from 2015. I'm going to be talking about Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark from 2019. So 3 recent movies. And then Steve's got the throwback with 1986's Trick or Treat. Not Trick or Treat, not Trick or Treats. We're talking Trick or Treat from 1986. That'll be fun, guys. You got some time. Go out and watch them flickies. Get ready for the fucking slobber knocker in October. All right. Got that out of the way. Let's real quickly go over, if you're new to the podcast, we got a Patreon. It's patreon.com/Halloween is forever. Steve, tell them about what the fuck's going on over there on a Patreon.
Yo, jump on that Patreon, dogs. You got to get into it. We're moving in October. That means there could be a whole bunch of extra stuff coming. You gotta get ready. Gotta see what happens. But jump on Tier 1. That's our Scamps tier. It's only $3. It ain't too much. But you get extra content. You get episodes early when I finish editing them. Sometimes you get it like in the middle of the afternoon on a Sunday. Maybe you get it on a Saturday. It's whatever, but you always get it before the Podbean and the rest of the plebs get it before them. Then, you also get like extra written reviews. I released a bonus clip talking about wrestling. So you get all kinds of good stuff on the Scams tier, but that ain't the good. You get good stuff.
That good.
Yeah, you get the good stuff, but not the good. The good is when you become a rascal.
That's a rascal.
Rascals. Now they get all that, and they get on the Discord. They can watch this episode happen live. They can interact with us. People can come, hang out. They can cheer on the wheel as the wheel spins. They can look
you
at
could
our...
be sitting here right now watching me glug on this here High Life.
Yeah, they can watch Brian chug High Lifes. They can watch me be disappointed in shitty ass, gloop glop beers that are full of fucking yeast floating around in it. You can get all that stuff. And you get the exclusive monthly podcast, Family is Forever.
Yikes. That is, that's really quickly becoming the bane of my existence, guys.
Hell yeah, dog.
Steve thought this fucking thing up. Here's what basically it is. I never seen any of those dang old Fast and Furious movies. I only ever saw the first one. Never saw the other ones. Steve's always talking about them. He loves them. It's his favorite movies in the world. Can't get enough of them. I said, you suck. You have terrible taste.
Yes.
He said, no, they're fun. Don't be an elitist piece of shit. I said, no, you're dog shit. I don't want to watch these.
No, you're nose blind.
Steve thought this would be a good idea, that once a month we do this Patreon exclusive podcast called Families Forever. What happens is every month we watch one of the Fast and the Furious movies we go through the franchise. And I'm watching them all for the first time, except for the first one. They suck. They suck something awful, guys. We're now on to the third one. We're about to record our Tokyo Drift episode. It's the whole thing's fucking trash. It's all garbage. I hate it. I want to reiterate that no, this is not worth any amount of money to me. You can stick your money up your ass. But if you do want to listen to us talk about it, it is quite fun to talk about. I hate watching them, like talking about them. You get that exclusive additional episode. It's been running pretty damn long. Actually, we've been recording these because there's just a lot of god awful nonsense to talk about.
They're so silly.
Yeah, they are. Well, the movies are really silly. So if you like when we talk about silly ass stupid movies and laugh and make fun of them and things like that, you'll absolutely love these episodes. We do some, unique little segments. Steve does a little thing called the oil check at the end, where he just like checks in on my mental health, and he acts like he's doing me a favor, like he's looking out for me, but he's actually just like rubbing my nose in it. It's fucking awful, guys, but the podcast is fun. So that's what you get on over there on The Family is Forever. So like I said, you get the retroactive, you get the ones we already did, and also like I said, we're just about to release here coming up most likely this coming week we'll be releasing the September Tokyo Drift episode, and we're off to the fucking fourth one, the fifth one, and I'm sure off into perpetuity until I eventually jump into a well or something. Gets real good coming up soon. But don't wait. Yeah. Don't wait. Get on over here. All right. Halloween. It's patreon.com/Halloween's Forever. And if you want to follow us on any of the social medias, if you want to suggest topics, if you want to do something like just this particular episode here, where a listener suggested this movie to us, go over to at Hallow Forever at on the Twitters or the X's, or what do we call it now? It's the
you can call it Twitter, or you can call it Twix, but you can't call it X.
You can't call it X, apparently. But you can do that, or you can go over on Instagram at Halloween is Forever. Do it on there. But shoot us a little DM, suggest something, or comment on something, whatever. You just want to look at some spooky ooky shit on the internet. All right. I think we got all of the top of the show stuff out of the way. So let's get into this movie here. Like I said, this came suggested to us from one of our Twitter followers. And the movie's called The Old Ways. It's on Netflix. Did you watch this specifically for the podcast, or had you seen this before, Steve?
No, I haven't seen this. I watched it for the podcast, for the suggestion from the listener. like I had it on a list because, like I said at the top of the episode, I'd seen No One Gets Out Alive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that came out before this movie on Netflix. And so like I'd seen that and I was like, oh, okay, well that was fun and interesting. And it had like a new twist on stuff because that fucking Aztec monster is crazy as hell. And that's, a great thing. And I was like, oh, this looks like maybe they're going down that same route of like, here's something, uncommon, but it's kind of common.
It turns out super common. So yeah, the apologies to our social media friends, or if you like this movie at all, listen, I'm not pointing fingers. You like a movie, not everybody has to like all the same things. But yeah, that was kind of my consensus of it as well. As like, kind of ultra predictable, exorcism type movie, possession type movie.
Yeah. And it's worth noting, like, this is coming from Brian and I, who are jaded to the fact that like we have seen tons and tons of exorcist type films. And so like this film doesn't do anything terribly different, but like if you're younger, this film would be good for you because maybe you haven't seen some of this stuff before.
Yeah. And I think the thing, yes, absolutely. And so like, I'm going to sit here and talk shit and be an asshole and stuff like that, because that's just my nature. But it's not it's not like a poorly executed movie or anything like that. It's a perfectly serviceable horror flick, possession type horror flick. I'll tell you the thing that I kind of took exception to, and this is an exception I think I could probably say that I take with a lot of Netflix horror, is Netflix horror is a certain flavor of horror, right? Meaning that not only are they catering to a specific type of audience, typically speaking, a somewhat younger audience, in my experience, but also they're really kind of trend chasing a little bit. They're trying to stay like super topical. They're usually not trying to do anything out of the box. Really. They're just kind of, it's pretty predictable. They work in some times of the script that really is like, we say like it's for screen time. Yeah. They're kind of expecting people to be watching this movie while half watching it and half looking at their phones. Yeah. But which is the thing that
I was going to say, like the most apparent thing about that in this movie is, so it's based on Mexican folklore and everything. And I, honest to God, thought this was going to be a fully subtitled movie, and it's not. And it's not because it has to have screen time for people to look at their phones. Yeah. If it's all subtitles, people aren't going to, a lot of people aren't going to watch it because they can't look at their phones and do it. Right. Yeah.
So they kind of bake in this really awkward thing of like, oh, well, the cousin doesn't speak Spanish anymore, so all the relatives speak English to accommodate her, and it doesn't make sense. It feels remarkably inauthentic. I think the other thing here that I took exception to, that I just really didn't like about it, was the idea that it is a very, very thinly, not even veiled. Like when I say thinly veiled, I mean it's like, like one ply veiled drug allegory, right? Addiction allegory. Yeah. And it's just like, it's not even really an allegory. It's like, it is, but it's like the addiction is also on the screen. So it's like, it's less than an allegory. They're like literally spoon feeding the whole thing to you. Yeah. Which is, I just found bad. Yeah. Generally speaking. Yeah.
It hits you over the head really like a hammer. And it's the same thing that took me out of the new Hellraiser movie that came out as well. Cause that movie is like a strictly up and down, like, drug allegory. And it's like, oh yeah, drugs will ruin your life and take away the people in your life. And it's like, yeah, okay. But like, can you do it more subtly?
Could you do it more subtly, or do it in a more interesting way, or make that a component of the story, not the entire, like an allegory does not make a story. You know what I mean? That should be a layered. It's like symbolism. It's like when you have a movie that's like everything is so heavily symbolic that they confused actually having a script with just peppering in symbolism.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it should be set dressing at best, not the story.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we got to have all these plots and themes and all this crazy stuff. Just like a little bit more story, perhaps.
Yeah.
You know,
and it just makes the movie easier to swallow again for the Netflix crowd, because again, you don't have to pay that much attention to it.
Right.
It's just easy to swallow. Like, oh yeah, like her doing drugs is exactly like what they're doing, and it's like, she's getting intervention to buy her family because she keeps putting herself in the mouth of danger, which is la boca. La boca means mouth, so it's like, it's the mouth of danger. She goes into the mouth of danger because she's on drugs. We have to save her and interventionize her, and get her to go cold turkey. Yeah,
and it's like I mean, I guess I do want to say if listen, if this story resonates with you because you're struggling with addiction, or some a loved one or something like that is struggling with addiction, then by all means, like I totally understand that and understand where that has value for you. But in this instance, it's so lazy that it's like borderline exploitative, and like not in the fun exploitation horror way. Like in we know that there is an opioid crisis. And so like, we think maybe this might resonate with a lot of people because we live in a country that has a literal like epidemic of opioid addiction. Yeah. It just feels like, I understand that's why it's socially relevant, but at the same time, it's so empty. And the characters, maybe with the somewhat exception of Christina, who's the main character, no other characters are developed in any way. They're extremely one-dimensional characters, and so like that's why it just feels like cheap. Like there's a lot of drug allegory films out there right now, and there has been through the history of horror, addiction, not just drugs, but alcohol addiction, all that sort of thing. Obviously the whole entire werewolf genre is really based on, an allegory for addiction, for alcoholism. Yeah. But this is just so surface level. Yeah.
There was the one film that came out recently. It was directed by Joe Begos, Bliss.
Bliss was cool. It was also like ultra bloody, super gory, blood everywhere kind of situation too. But
it's also like it's a vampire film that's a total allegory for, like, it's a total drug allegory. And it also has like the characters doing drugs like on screen and carrying on and shit like that. But like, it's just, I don't know, it's just more interestingly made because it, like, the drug allegory is the background.
Yeah, it was super stylized too, if I recall. Like it was cool to look at, and
because all of Joe Begos' movies are super stylized. Like, Christmas, Bloody Christmas, they're all soaked in neon, but also
I can't wait to watch that movie again. I loved it. I really like that movie.
It's coming around, for Christmas time. But like, everything.
I'm not wishing spooky season out of the way. I just love Christmas horror. So.
Yeah. So, that's the other thing about this movie is like, even though it's competently made, it doesn't have like an interesting look to it. As most Netflix, it's
very slick.
Yeah. It's all slick.
Very, very high production value for the most part. Even the CGI was pretty well done. I think nothing was egregious about it, but that's what Netflix horror looks like. Yeah,
because Netflix horror also looks like Netflix action, looks like Netflix action comedy. Like it all looks the same on Netflix. Like I am really hard pressed to think of a movie outside of like when Netflix was really getting into the game of this. Is it Children of No God? That it would start Idris Elba and was about like child soldiers. Beasts of No Nation.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I'm not watching it, but I remember seeing it pop up all the time.
Beasts of No Nation has a look to it, and it's a great film, and I think it's because maybe it was made outside of the Netflix system and then was bought by Netflix to show on Netflix. But like Beasts of No Nation is the last movie I can think that has like a good cinematic, like unique look to it. There's just like some fantastic shots all through that. But yeah, this film is like, it's fine. It's all put together. It feels almost fast foody in a way, because like,
that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
and like most Netflix films do, like they're fast foody. They're like they're put together, but they're not put together wrong, and they'll occupy your time and everything will be fine.
If you want to sit down and like not really get too much into it, not really challenge yourself, you just want to, and there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like an asshole the way I'm saying this, but like there's plenty of instances where that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Right.
And that's, that's what they're going to deliver.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I didn't hate this film, but it's just because I feel like there's so many better exorcism films out there. And like, for sure. It's just because we can think of better examples, and both you and I are so jaded from seeing so many films that like this one doesn't register. Like, it doesn't register a peak, but it also, again, it's not bad, which is the same as fast food. Fast food is just, you consume and you're fine. It doesn't, unless you consume the one that gives you diarrhea. Everybody has the one that gives them diarrhea.
Always do. But I don't know why I said that in a sexy way, but
it's funny because so by the time you're listening to this now, the episode that Brian and I did with the podcast Back to the Blockbuster on the Wailing, in that episode we talk a lot about the upcoming Exorcist film. And, just in general about how like Exorcist films don't do anything new. And like, it's hard to watch them because they never do anything new anymore.
Rarely.
Yeah. And we still like,
there was one that was like a Netflix, I want to say maybe it was a Shudder original or something like that came out a few years ago, maybe over COVID, where there was like, where they were like live streaming an exorcism. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
I feel like we talked about that.
We didn't talk about it, but I believe it's called like The Last Stream or something, because I have seen it.
That one, and it wasn't a masterpiece, but I remember thinking like, okay, this is a little different.
It was fun.
It was kind of fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was like because there was like betrayal amongst the ranks,
you know what I mean, of the people involved. There was a lot of character development outside of the exorcism itself.
Right.
But yeah, there's one that wasn't really an exorcism film, but it was like a demonic ritual film, more of like summoning a demon, if I recall. That was called like Very Dark Things. It came out a few years ago. I want to say it was a British movie. That was I would almost bunch that into a similar subcategory, although again, very different. But yeah, that one was really cool too.
Yeah. So yeah, they still exist, but it's just like when you get into these kind of meat and bones, just like somebody's locked and chained to a bed or some shit like that, it all feels like it plays out the same way. And in the one movie we talked a lot about on that other podcast was the Pope's Exorcist, because it feels so cookie cutter in the exorcism itself, of like the kid does a funny thing and his body twists weird and his eyes go funny and then he says a swear. And like,
he says a swear word.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's like, who gives a shit? Like the only thing that's cool about that movie is Russell Crowe riding around on a scooter, drinking and be like doing a funny accent. He rules.
It's just drunk priest is the best part of that. Yeah. The twist on it is drunk priest.
Yeah.
Scooter drunk priest.
Scooter drunk priest who also he flirts with women, but he's not like a total pervert about it. And so
yeah, he's kind of a hard boiled priest, if there's such a thing.
Yeah, hard boiled priest rules.
Yeah, I mean, we don't necessarily have to go through scene by scene on this one, but some of the things that I thought were I'll talk about some of the good and the bad and some of the characters here. So the main character is Christina. She is a like a writer, a journalist of some sort, investigative journalist of some sort. And she has been, you don't know this at the time, but she's got some sort of weird relationship with, you would say it's her editor or something like that, who, she's kind of wants to be sent on assignment to this place, which we ultimately come to learn is called La Boca, which is, essentially a series of caves in like a rural area of Mexico. We don't know anything about it. We don't know why she's there, anything like that. She goes out there. Oh, she sees some spooky ooky shit. She gets some flashbacks where she sees her mom, and right away that it's her as a child and her mom. It's not difficult to figure that out with very little context. And her mom turns into Angela from Night of the Demons, pretty much. She has the same teeth, and it's like, oh, her mom was possessed by a demon in some capacity. So you think she says she's doing a story on the tribes and cultures of Laboka. She wakes up, she's like chained up in a dang old exorcism room. It's like you went to a hotel and said, give me the exorcism suite. Like this is what you'd be handed.
Yeah.
And then, you see her cousin is there. Her cousin's name is Miranda. Miranda is perhaps the most one-dimensional character I've seen in a long time. She is the cousin that's like got shit figured out, so or is content in some capacity.
Yeah.
Whereas Christina does not.
Yeah. It feels like, I do like the quick hot start to the movie and the fact that it's just like it's exorcism and then she's chained to the bed and then she has to figure out why she's chained to the bed. And then
the pacing on these Netflix movies is always, it's never slow, but it's up and down.
Right.
There's ups and downs to it. It's because it's got that screen time built into it. Like there is a point, and not even a point. I would almost argue like the whole movie is essentially like there's a little vignette of some spooky shit happen, some exorcism-y shit happen. And then, so that's the upswing. And then it comes back down and it's some like familial back and forth, between Christina and Miranda, or Christina and I think his name's Javi, which is the one other character. And then spooky shit happens, and then they come back down and do a little talking. Yeah, you know what I mean. And it's just ups and downs like that. It's paced intentionally, like that.
Yeah. But they do the quick hot start so you don't turn it off. And then because they're like, oh, he's gonna fucking set her on fire. Like when she first is confronted by the Bruja, which by the way, I do love a milky eyed witch.
Oh, love a milky eye. I do too. I love a milky eye.
Milky eye witch
an
is great.
An old ass shaman with a shaman, like Bruja, and the female shaman. Bruja just means like witch, right? In Spanish, pretty much, right? Yeah. But a milky eye, mwah, chef's kiss.
I mean, just for beer brewing and everything, I'm pretty sure Bruja is also like brewer.
Oh, like an alewife type of situation.
Yeah,
basically.
Because I think also if you trace like even the word woman back far enough in the Germanic language, it's just brew. Yeah, interesting.
I was watching this thing on TikTok or on Instagram or something like that, where I watch all these like super cringy ultra right wing evangelical like preachers say stupid shit.
Sure, yeah.
I like and then people dunk on them kind of thing. Like that's like my porn. There is this guy. He's like, woman originally came from womb man. It's just a man with a womb. Like that's and then there's some like linguist, anthropologist guys like, wrong, dipshit. This is where it goes.
Wrong. Yeah, it's definitely not. Yeah, Christian Nightmares. That's also just a good follow.
Christian Nightmares is one of the ones I follow. I love me some Christian Nightmares.
That's a good follow. But yeah, Milky Eye Witch. She confronts Christina and she says, she turns to Javi and she's like, she has it. And then she leaves, and then like Javi picks up this big container, and I was like, oh shit, is she just going to set this woman on fire in the first 15 minutes?
This is literally the best part of the movie. He comes in with a gas can, and you're like, oh shit, he about to torch this bitch up.
Yeah.
Comes in, but then it's just cum. It's just a 5-gallon gas can of cum. But then you come to, and so I was like, oh shit, he's gonna burn her. Oh no shit, he's just gonna dump cum on her.
It's like, oh no.
Wait, no, it's goat's milk.
Yeah. It's
an emotional roller coaster.
It's the biggest roller coaster I think anybody feels, because I went through the same exact thing. I was like, oh shit, he's gonna set her on fire. It's like, oh shit, this is a bukkake video. To, oh, it's milk. And then I was like, oh, the witch, when she says she has it, she meant lactose intolerance.
Yeah, maybe. It's so weird. And then so here's the most Netflixy thing that happens too is like after he just like, it's also really uncomfortable because he's dumping. They drink goat's milk like it's going out of style this whole movie, and I don't exactly know why. I'm sure there's a cultural thing to it. I'm sure it's like healthy, you know what I mean? It's like a lot of sustenance. I'm sure I know there's like a lot of fat in goat's milk, so it's a lot of sustenance. But also like the idea that whenever she is like he's like dumping it on her. They're just drinking it normally throughout the rest of the movie, but in this instance, he's like dumping it on her. He's like dumping it on her face, and she's like not like trying to not get it in her mouth. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be crass about this, but she's just like, he's just dumping it in her face instead of her like turning her head. She's just like, look.
Yeah.
It's super awkward. And then afterwards, you know, normally if somebody came in and assaulted you with goat's milk, you'd be like, you know, it's a harrowing thing. She literally covered in goat's milk says to herself, what the actual fuck?
Yeah.
which is vastly becoming one of my least favorite phrases in the world. It's almost there with like, if somebody was to say, now that's just wrong. Like that's what the actual fuck sounds like to me.
Yeah. So
it was just the cringiest moment for me. It was very, yeah.
It's so unpleasant. And it felt like, it's like, oh, that's feels like dialogue plucked from the Netflix Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. It was like chat. You know, what's that what's the freaking
Chat
AI
GBT
thing that people? Yeah, it reminded me of something Chat GBT would like pump out. You know what I mean? Like it's like,
yeah,
that's just wrong, or like delete your account. You know what I mean? It's just like some cheeky thing that's like,
you know what
so trite that your mom kind of knows what it means.
Yeah, you know what it actually is. It's I was watching the newer season of What We Do in the Shadows, and Colin Robinson's character is always full of like those overwrought cringe fucking phrases that he just says in the background and everybody ignores him. But it's like, but like
he is perfect at that.
And that's what the actual fuck.
It's something young Sheldon would say. You know what I mean? Like
it's just woof. Just woof.
But and then she decides she's going to break out. But she's pulling an Andy Dufresne and like timing the stone with the thunder to like smash the chain. I don't know. The whole thing was just super, super contrived to me. It never felt like she was in danger from these people who were holding her hostage, nor did she even believe she was in danger.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, there's nothing about it.
Like low stakes.
Yeah. That's the other side of the coin of the hot start. Is that we don't know what the stakes are because we're just thrust into this situation where she's, you know, captured. She doesn't feel like she's captured by a bunch of scary people. She feels like she's captured by an old woman and an old man full of, you know, full of goat's milk. Like,
yeah. And her cousin.
Yeah.
Who
and her cousin
very well and trusts.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, all right, you'll probably be okay, I guess. Something.
Yeah.
You have a chicken friend. What are you mad about?
Yeah. You have a chicken friend. There is like a kid, you know, lurking around somewhere. I don't know.
Which that doesn't pay off for anything. What the fuck was that?
It doesn't. You know, we kept thinking like, okay, who's this supposed to be? Is that the actual demon? It never, ever plays off.
Yeah. What the fuck was that?
But it's like, oh, okay, the demons are her demons, her inner demons. And it's like, yeah, that's what it is. That's how they talk about it.
Yeah.
It's never, like I said, to say it's thinly veiled would be kind of an understatement.
My literal notes are, is the demon inside her drugs?
Yeah, I wrote that too. I was like, nothing, or no, it was when because then she literally starts doing heroin like at night, and then they all know it, and it's like then she wakes up and they do an exorcism, and then she does heroin, and then they wake up and do an exorcism or some sort of ritual or whatever. And yeah, I did write down nothing gets you high like drugs with a Z.
Nothing gets you high like drugs.
But I was like, is the kid a chicken? You know, and nothing ever really happened from it.
Yeah. I did like that night where she gets a hold of her heroin kit, and then she does heroin, she passes out, and then like wakes up to being just like chained to the floor for the ceremony. Yeah. That's a pretty good match cut. It stuck out to me.
It was okay. Yeah, no, the cinematography, nothing's shot poorly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everything looks good.
You know, of the things that are sticking out to me, you know, I had to find something, and I found that. I was like, that's a good match cut.
Yeah. Here, I'll mess it up and say something that stinks. When she is doing I'm going to fake like I believe what's happening to get them to come back in and think that it's working. So it's like this really faking thing.
Yeah.
And I just wrote that was Inception level bad acting.
I liked it. I liked
she's
it.
She's doing a bad job at
bad acting.
Faking. She's got faking.
I don't know. I liked it. I thought she did an okay job at faking. Faking.
And then, you know, so then what happens is snakes show up, and it's like, oh, snakes is scary and all that stuff. And then also there's no bigger pet peeve of mine in a movie like this is when they try to make the victim look make an exorcism sexy. And they try to do that. Like there's times where they just like have her in her underwear, like arching her back in a very sexy way for no reason. Doesn't need to happen. Like, and you know, and it's not even like, I know some people, if you haven't seen it, you might be like, well, you know, if somebody's in your underwear, if you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be overtly sexy. No, they're trying to make it overtly sexy.
Yeah. Because there's ways to go around it, to not do it.
And she has like sexy underwear on. She doesn't have like, you know, granny panty period underwear on or something like that. She literally has. She
doesn't have jungle exploring underwear on is what she doesn't have.
No, exactly. No, she has like Calvin Klein, like sexy, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just, it sucks. And so I said, I wrote, she's in her underwear, sexy bloody snake business only on Netflix. Like it just felt like such a, like, I don't know, shameless target towards, you know, whoever the hell they think this audience is.
Yeah. But again, because it's Netflix, they're not going to push the envelope and do full exploitation and have her do like chained heat and nudity covered in snakes type shit.
Yeah.
They're just going to do like kind of like simple titillation. Is like, does this get you hard?
Yeah. Just cheap. Not like I said, if you're going to go that direction, go full like exploitation, fucking just go for it.
Yeah.
But they don't.
Are you 11 and this gets you hard seeing a woman with her thighs out?
Yeah. Oh man. It's not good. They do, you know, they're doing all this like big family talk where it's like they're acting like they're sisters and they know each other really well, but like apparently they haven't like hardly spoken in 20 years. So it didn't feel like their relationship really was earned at all, I guess. Or the reason, the how much they know about each other or care about each other, or really the trust they have in each other. It doesn't feel tremendously earned, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I at some point I just had to let go of like the drug allegory because it was too simple for me. And I just said, what if Christina is addicted to being American?
That is part of the, you know, because there is this other kind of other theme or this other plot line of like she's kind of forsaken her culture a little bit. But this whole thing, and I don't know much about the writer and director. The director, we didn't really mention at the top of the show, Christopher Allender.
Yeah.
He, I don't think that he has, I might be wrong. I don't think he has any cultural identity in you know, Central America or anything. He did a lot of Muppet stuff, which is like, okay, I can appreciate that. But the writer is Marcos Gabriel. And perhaps he does. But in any case, it didn't really feel tremendously authentically Mexican, Mesoamerican, even Central. You know what I mean? It just felt kind of surface level, a lot of that stuff as well.
Yeah. And
so like for them to be really preachy about that and like, you don't even speak Spanish anymore. I'm like, bitch, you made a movie that doesn't speak Spanish. What are you fucking talking
Yeah.
about? You know?
Yeah, that's one of the things that's set wrong with me. And I feel free, if you know better, please email us and tell us like what's really up. You know, if you know better about this, because we can be wrong. We're okay with being wrong. We're not
super wrong all the time.
Yeah, we're not like regular psychos on the internet who just insist. But let's talk about a specific scene and what it means. So throughout the film, basically Christina goes through these little, they're not full exorcisms, but they're like little tests on how to pull the demon out. So the one is with the snakes, and there's another one where they do the broken man and that pulls it. And then there's one that I want to talk about, which is they basically do psychic surgery.
Yes.
And psychic surgery is really interesting because it doesn't really have, from what I could find, it doesn't have a strong basis in Mexico. It has basis in Brazil and the Philippines, and both of those didn't come about until around the mid 1900s. So like 1950s, 1960s. So it's not even an old practice from what I could find.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely seen it come up in like Southeast Asian films and stuff. And I've seen it on like, you know, some of those like, you know, spooky ass Discovery Channel shows and stuff like that. And psychic surgery, I guess we should describe for those of you who don't know what it is. It's essentially sleight of hand. It is on par with like kind of unscrupulous fortune tellers that would do like seances and have a whole host of tricks. There's an entire industry around basically fleecing rubes into thinking that you have some sort of supernatural ability, right? Now, if you believe in fortune telling or tarot cards or whatever, I don't care. You can believe in that all you want. I'm not putting that down necessarily. I'm just saying there is absolutely undeniably an entire culture of or portion of that industry that is entirely fabricated and is, again, just about tricking people into thinking you have some supernatural ability. And psychic surgery is directly tied to that, where people would actually, and I actually thought it went back to like turn of the century, but maybe it was closer to like the middle of the 20th century. But essentially what you would do is people would take little bits of typically, animal organs, like some sort of viscera, you know, a heart, a stomach, an organ of some sort from a particular animal, whatever, and it would be a chicken or whatever, it doesn't fucking matter. And a lot of times what they would do is they would go around and say, oh, so your loved one has cancer. I'm going to remove the tumor. And they would actually do this thing where they'd lay them out and they would act like they would put their hands physically on this person's, you know, torso and move it around and, you know, apply pressure and that sort of thing. And through sleight of hand would seem to produce this bloody mass, which they would suggest is a tumor or cancer or whatever, right? And say, I psychically took this tumor out of you. The tumor is gone. Now give me thousands of dollars. See you later. Bye.
Yeah.
You know, and just fade off into that. So that's a thing that has happened to thousands and thousands of people. They do it in this movie and treat it like it is a not only legitimate supernatural practice, but also, and call it psychic surgery by name. But also they kind of insinuate that it has some cultural significance.
Yeah. And it's like, that was what was crazy to me, because like, I remember like while I was watching the movie, I was like, this is a Penn and Teller bit. Like Penn and Teller used to do this gig to fucking blow it up. So other people couldn't. Right. So like these other rotten scam artists couldn't take advantage of people with it, because like I was saying, it, you know, after the film, I went and did more research because I was like, this is such a modern thing. I remember Penn and Teller doing it. I think it was on Unsolved Mysteries. It was a thing that came up a lot, and it was to be debunked because what I learned was it did get its start in like the Philippines and Brazil. And then I think a lot of weird Christian sects started doing it as well. Like we also had like the snake handler guys. And I think it's like in that kind of weird, kind of sect that of like Christianity of people who are handling snakes and they're also doing psychic surgery and
speaking in tongues and rolling around on the ground and all that shit.
We're going to blow up these guys' spots so this shit doesn't spread in America, because like you're talking about, it's usually about pulling out tumors and then like that person is still dying of cancer.
You're preying on desperate people.
Yeah, you're preying on desperate people. So let's blow these people's spots up. And then they did that. I found something, but I don't know how influential it is and how much of it is just kind of like a silly story. It goes back to the 1600s when conquistadors were all over the fucking South America and Central America and even South North America in the Mexico area. It relates to the explorer Alvar Nunez Cabeza de Vaca.
Yeah, and boy, they always had like 20 names. Yeah. And the conquistadors loved a bunch of names.
He loved a bunch of names. He's got to tell people where he's from, but also who his family is. You got to know who I am. Yeah. When I come rolling into your village, you better know everything about me.
What kind of helmet I like, how silly my mustache is, like everything.
Yeah. So the story goes is like De Vaca was traveling in kind of the southern Mexico area and also headed towards Florida. He's just kind of skirting around that area. And there was a tale of the Malacosa, and Malacosa translates the bad thing.
Oh, okay.
And the Malacosa was supposedly a short bearded entity that could take a sharp knife and like would cut into people's sides and cut into their arms. And he would extract entrails and extract blood. And then he would lay his hands on the wounds and the wounds would close up. So that's about as close as I could find to something that was psychic surgery. This story, though, also could very well be a story from the natives of that time telling stories about De Vaca himself, or even other conquistadors, because of like there's more to the story about like, having firebrands and, just like their appearance and the things they would do. And it was kind of almost like a folk tale of the conquistadors, of the way they treat people and why you should avoid them. Because like I said, even in the beginning, it's a bearded entity, which is like, most of the conquistadors always had that goofy little spike beard and they had the mustache and everything. So it's like, it's a folk tale that got...
Never trust a guy with a pointy beard.
Yeah.
Never.
So it's like
unless it's Satan.
Yeah.
He'll never steer you wrong.
It's like a folktale about the conquistadors the natives were circling, and they were telling it to him, and he just didn't get it. He didn't get that they were making fun of him, essentially.
Yeah. It's I'm just hearing secondhand from your research, but it doesn't sound like it has much to do with it. And even if there is some basis in it, for them to use the phrase psychic surgery, which is so clearly and undeniably associated with like grifting, just seemed so heavy-handed and poorly done. I don't know.
Well, I guess the point I was getting at is like the story of the Malacosa was about conquistadors. So it wasn't about Mexican folk magic.
Natives even.
Yeah, it wasn't even from Mexican folk magic. It was about like why you should avoid the white people, because they have like they'll take your organs and then sew you up, or like burn you, cauterize you.
Yeah.
After taking your blood and organs. So
So even then, it's like it doesn't necessarily have a legitimate healing benefit. In fact, the inverse, really.
Right. Yes, it's the inverse. So like to come all the way back around to the scene, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It feels cheap and it feels unearned, and it's essentially not cool to do now, because like now
it felt like it.
Yeah. You're trying to pass off essentially a grift as like true magic from a culture, and that's not cool.
Or even a ritual, just a ritual, whether it's magical or effective or not. But anyway, the whole thing, like you said, like we said, it's these ups and downs. Hey, let's do a little, ritual of some sort, and then we'll talk it out. Then a ritual, then we'll talk it out. And so the whole thing is like, it's almost like these series of like interventions, is that they're pretty heavily suggesting like, hey, don't give up on, your loved one or whatever. And eventually they'll, snap out of it, whatever, which could or could not be a problematic message in and of itself, depending on how you take it.
Yeah. And then Christina hits rock bottom at some point, but like even her rock bottom doesn't feel like a rock bottom, because she runs into a magic barrier and then throws up hair.
Well, and it's also a rock bottom that is essentially solved by a montage.
Yeah.
Like, and they do that twice. They actually do this thing where it's like, okay, oh, she's really a rock bottom. Like, how are we going to get out of this? That's all right. Just do a montage, which made it sound funny to me, because the director had directed Muppet, some various Muppet movies and specials, which that's a classic Muppet move, is like, and they're very self-aware about it. I'm a Muppet fanatic, and they'll just be like, nothing a montage can't fix, what I mean? And just go into it. And that's really what this felt like as well. It was just like, and it's funny, they came out on the other end of the first montage, and all of a sudden she was like this wise, she was like, well, I want to do the broken man, ritual. And they're like, oh, is it going to work? Well, yeah, it obviously works, but it hurts real bad. And she's like, well, I don't care if it hurts, and I'm going to read the book, and I'm going to read books a lot. And then she sits there in her cell, and it's like, I need a hero. And she's just like reading books, and she comes out on the other side. She's like, I understand everything. And then they do the ritual, and it's out. But then the thing that doesn't make any sense at all, though the demon was, obviously it was her addiction, but also it's a demon. So the demon comes out, but then the demon goes into Miranda, who, if it's going to go into Miranda, and we should say it doesn't matter, nobody cares, but we're fast forwarding to the end, which I really had a problem with. Old Milky Eye, the Bruja, she basically sacrifices herself to save Christina, right? Mm-hmm. She like makes the demon. They make the demon come out, and then she like grabs its heart and blah blah blah. It's pretty dumb. First of all, so what are you suggesting? Like, you got to sacrifice yourself to save somebody else? Like, that doesn't make sense. If everything is this very thinly veiled drug allegory, how does that play into all that? It was just clumsily done, but okay. So they want to integrate this story of like, generational trauma and generational, addiction, and the effects on, passing down the effects of addiction and trauma and all that stuff. Fine. But so Bruja dies, old Milky Eye dies. Then Christina gets a massive eye wound. Like, it looks like somebody took just like a giant rusty blade and just slashed from about 3 inches above her eye to 3 inches below her eye. It looks like that. It looks like that injury from Terrifier 2 when Art the Clown goes in and cuts down that woman's face and through her eye. Like, it's brutal looking. Yeah. Christina, it might as well be it might as well be a fucking bug bite. That's about how bad she reacts to it. She gets the Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat 3 scar. She does. And she like is just really couldn't be less affected by it. A traumatic thing, a giant like 6 to 8 inch gash down your face, assumingly losing your eyesight in one of your eyes. No, she's just like, it might as well be a cool tattoo that says like never forget or something. Like, that's how she feels about it. She of course has a bandage over it the whole time. And Bruja died. So now everything's cool, and I'm gonna stay with you. And Christina and Miranda, we're gonna be best friends, witches living in the forest, being cool together. But then Miranda got the demon, which is like, what did Miranda do to get the demon? She didn't do anything. She
didn't do anything. It was like, yeah. And this is the problem with, you have the drug allegory, but then you try to work in the not giving up your cultural roots allegory.
Yeah.
And then I don't think they were sure which one they were trying to apply to Miranda, because they were trying to apply the cultural roots relationship between Christina and the old Bruja of she dies. And like after she dies, they bluntly say, Javi says, the old ways die with you. So like,
yeah, by the way, Bruja, Milky Eye is Javi's mom.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter, but
yeah. And then he just bluntly says the old ways die with you. Essentially, you know, like culture dies with you unless somebody else picks it up. And, you know, obviously Christina will.
Right.
But Miranda is just there to satisfy Christina picking up the old ways. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't think to write it differently, which is weird.
Well,
it's weird because the final end is Carson comes in and he has the demon in his eye now, and now Christina's going to heal him. But like, why couldn't that have been the ending? You know what I'm saying?
Why did Miranda? Here's why: is because it's Netflix and Miranda is very pretty.
Okay,
that's it. They just needed to get her on screen more, and she's very pretty, and you're gonna feel bad for a pretty girl who gets possessed.
Or is it that they already had Miranda signed up for a certain number of shooting days, and then the actor who plays Carson, they didn't want to pay him more by having him sign up for more shooting days? Because
they just want to get him a day. Just he could do everything in a day.
There's very likely they filmed all of his scenes in a day or two, so they didn't have to pay him as much.
Well, to make it even more confusing, and not confusing like, oh, it's deep and we didn't get it. Like confusing like it honestly it doesn't make a ton of sense. Is Miranda gets the demon. There was never any indication that Miranda had any questioning of faith or Miranda had any potential, you know, substance abuse issues, or even if you want to take the allegory out of play and it was like Miranda did anything to make her susceptible to this demon. She didn't.
Right.
She wasn't even developed as a character enough for that to have been a reality. But Miranda's got the demon now. Whatever. So Christina, you know, ultimately she takes off her bandage and she's the Milky Eye now, you know, so she says, I'm going to do the whole thing with you and I'm going to exorcise the demon out of you. And then they ultimately do, and the demon comes out and it's like a big fucking, I don't know, like Mexican golem looking thing almost. And one of the dumbest lines I've ever heard in a movie comes out of Christina's mouth, which is before she punches into the demon's chest and pulls its heart out and then gets all the grossness spills on her. She goes, I'm a motherfucking Bruja. Which I can't believe they had the balls to put that in there. I'm glad they did, because I spit coffee out like when she said that.
That was so great. And like, that's the other thing is, like, if this movie was campier, you would have had more moments of that. Like they had two good campy moments in this last 15 minutes. They had that line, which made me laugh. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude. And then, but before that is Miranda and Christina are kind of, you know, wandering around the house, and they see the cabinet is open, full of like the Bruja's old, you know, tools and everything. And Miranda goes, what is it? And Christina, who hasn't been speaking Spanish the entire, you know, show, she goes, es la hora. And she said, and when she says, es la hora, I was like, let's fucking go.
so bad. Christina's character is just so horribly written.
Yeah.
All the characters really are really truly bad. I mean, like Javi, like he's not even in enough really for that to be the case. You know, the old milky eye Bruja, like whatever. She's just there for imagery and that sort of stuff. But then this is the most confusing part is, you know, earlier in kind of a throwaway scene, Christina, actually, this was the one part. I wouldn't even say it's throwaway because this is the one part I was like, oh, this might take like a cool turn. Is Christina bum rushes Javi when she's in the cell with him and like stabs him and chokes him out and all this stuff. And you're like, oh, wouldn't that have been sweet if she killed him? And now she's like really like now the stakes are turned up. No, she just like chokes him out and then they're friends 10 minutes later. But she does grab his cell phone and get a call out to her, you know, whatever he is, editor, boss, whatever, who's Carson, I think you said his name was right. Calls Carson. Well, then days and days later, Carson has tracked them down. He's like, I'm coming to you. And she's like, no, it's cool. I'm Bruja now. I'm motherfucking Bruja now. Don't worry about coming. Well, then Carson shows up and Carson has brought her more drugs with a Z. And she's like, he's like, don't worry, we'll take care of you. I got your stuff. You got your drugs. Like, so like now he's like a pusher kind of guy, which you never really suggested that ever before. So the idea is like, were they in a relationship? Is he the person who got her hooked on heroin? You don't know. But there's also like a pretty heavy suggestion that he is also an addict in some capacity. It's not clear, but that's kind of how I took it. Like he's sweating and he's like talking to her about like how he's trying to like, he thinks he's doing her a favor by bringing her, you know, heroin or whatever. So now it's like, you know, she's got this, you know, all this learned knowledge and, you know, symbol of her struggles with her, you know, big cut in her milky eye and all. And she's had a couple of montages. She knows how shit's going. And then she's like, you know, you're not going anywhere, motherfucker. We're going to exorcise your demons. And then she says, literally, quote, how about we get you some milk?
Yeah.
And he's like, what? And then that's the end of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
See that like the last 15 minutes of this movie are just so campy and silly. And like they're better than kind of the other hour 20. It like if the other hour 20 was like just kind of, I don't know, goof ass off the wall, like puking and bleeding and spitting and, you know, just carrying on and being crazy, it'd be better, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, just like the stuff before, like you said, it's just kind of that medium ebb and flow. Like stakes aren't ever really raised too much. Javi is never, you know, Javi doesn't get killed to raise the stakes up. Miranda is always on the same wavelength and just like nobody's character really arcs that much. So it's just that standard Netflix blandness. And then the last 15 is like silly and it's fun.
Yeah.
Because es la hora.
Yeah. It's like, yes. Why, if this movie and a lot of Netflix horror to me feels like they shot a bunch of trailers for a movie and then stitched them together into a movie. And that's how they made it. Like, that's how it feels. Like so much of it just doesn't make any, like it just doesn't, they don't care that it doesn't fit together. You know what I mean? As long as it fits the model.
Yeah. And I'm trying to learn more about this Christopher Lender as we're talking, because like you said, he doesn't have much to his name. He has a couple other horror films that are like, I think he has like one other horror feature and then some horror shorts and then Muppet stuff. And just like looking at his bio, I don't see anything that's directly tied to like, you know, a Mexican heritage or anything like that. Said he was born in Atlanta and went to Florida State and then, you know, moved to Hollywood. So I don't know. the writer may have had better intentions for their film, as a lot of writers do. And so it's probably just a Netflix movie produced by committee. You know, a committee of producers fucking looked at it and said, we can do this, this, and this. You know, make sure you include this, take out the tits. Yeah.
Right. Make it sexy, but not too sexy.
Yeah. Narrow this cast down to under 10 people and we'll give you fucking $5 million or whatever to go make this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, aside from, you know, the kind of demon which you see on screen, you know, basically from like the waist up, kind of like the bust of this demon for like, honestly, can't be more than 3 to 5 seconds.
Yeah.
There's not really much in the way of effect. There is like a kind of a cool scene where like a demon, supposedly, which you never see the demon, stomps on a rat and it like splats out, but I'm pretty sure that was all CGI. Mm-hmm. And the rest is just kind of mediocre CGI effects that are serviceable but not memorable.
Yeah. Yeah. I think some of the snake stuff was real. And I kind of like the way the demon was in the background a lot of the times, just out of focus. I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it was okay.
Especially if your demon design isn't going to be super fucking crazy over the top. Like, you know, like something you see in The Void or something like that. You don't want to give it a lot of screen time because it's not going to be super impressive. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's almost like Insidious. But worse, because like,
yeah, it's not. Yeah, it is. That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
It's like Wish.com Insidious a little bit.
Just because I remember watching Insidious and like, there's obviously that one really famous jump scare that it gets everybody. Mm. But then
it's great.
But then at the end of the movie, you see like the demon is just like this weird fucking dude who works in a toy shop or whatever, and it's just like.
I know, what? But then it's got Tiny Tim in there, which I'm a sucker for.
Yeah. And it's just like, what the fuck is this? This was your scary demon? Get the fuck out of here, movie.
Yeah, he's up there like playing a fucking organ or something.
Yeah, he's like doing arch villain shit. It's just like, get the fuck out of here.
It's like the penguin. He's like having drinks with the penguin.
I thought this was the devil, but it's more like fucking him from Cow and Chicken.
Which, terrifying. Anyway, okay, so that was The Old Ways from 2023 on Netflix. I do want to reiterate, we very much appreciate the suggestion, and I'm not, ripping on anybody for movies they like, but that's what we do in this movie. Or on this podcast, we dissect the hell out of movies and talk about whether we like them, and we are a couple of real opinionated assholes. Mm-hmm. So, we weren't big fans of it, but that's not to say that you shouldn't like it or that you shouldn't watch it. Or that it's not a perfectly serviceable horror movie. I watch probably 5 movies a week that, this is probably vastly superior than. So absolutely check it out. And if you agree with us, if you disagree with us, if you know any more about the, some of the things that we talked about, like the whole psychic surgery thing, I find that to be super interesting, especially, reach out to us, even maybe in the DMs, or maybe you make a little comment on the social medias, get the conversation started over there, straighten us out if we got our heads up our asses, which, very well might be the case, but
possible. In
any case, very possible. Thank you for the suggestion. I did appreciate, watching it and always love some good discussion around these flicks. One more time, just to remind you, if you are as excited as we are about that son of a bitch in October slobber knocker that we got coming up for a showdown episode, just to recap, our guest, Bigfoot Ben, he's going to be doing Hellions from 2015. The return of the Meg 2. What's the rest of that title? Meg 2.
The Trench.
What's it called? What's the Trench? Yeah, see, that's not a good. It's Meg 2.
That's not great. I don't think Meg wants to be known as the Trench.
Nah, she's probably not gonna like that. Meg has got the Funhouse Massacre, also from 2015. And then your boy's going to be doing a Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark for 2019. And then Steve going all the way back to 1986 for Trick or Treat.
Hell yeah.
Talking about Sammy Kerr.
Hell yeah.
Rock's Chosen Warrior. That's going to be our Showdown episode.
Start punching your thighs, everybody. Time to rock.
Get it fucking going, yins, guys. All right. Anything else? As always, follow us on the social medias. And I forgot to mention at the top of the show, if you want to go on over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you download your podcasts, you go in, you give us a max star review, 4 or 5, whatever the fuck it is, and then write a little comment. You got to write the comment or it don't count. It won't show up as a review. Put a little comment that says, hey, these boys fuck, or whatever you want to put. Say something on there about how you like the podcast, and then shoot us a DM on Twitter or on Instagram and say, hey, I reviewed you guys. And then we will send you some dang old Halloween's Forever stickers in the mail. I also just got a new little bag of spooky ooky Halloween goodies. I'll throw you some of that in there as well. So it'll be fun. Okie dokie. Anything else, Steve? Anything else we're forgetting?
Just one last thing. We didn't talk too much about Javi's actor, Sal Lopez, but I wanted to point out that he actually has like a pretty deep career that goes further. Like he was in Full Metal Jacket, but
he's the only person I recognize his face. And I didn't even talk about him because he plays a relatively minor role, but yeah.
Good actor. And I just wanted to point out that he was a voice on one of the greatest adventure computer games ever, Grim Fandango. He plays.
Oh, I love Grim Fandango.
Yeah, he plays. Plays Salvador Limones, who is the revolutionary leader of that. That you get the fucking pigeons for
with the beret. The dude with the little beret.
Yeah.
That game is so. I would say it's ripe for a remake. It doesn't even need a remake.
It's
perfect. It's perfect as it is. Yeah. It's a goddamn Day of the Dead aesthetic themed fucking detective noir game for fucking PlayStation. Like there's a reason why nobody played it, is because it sounds completely unmarketable, but it's so much fun, and it's like reading a fucking graphic novel in video game form. It's so great.
If you want some real like detective noir shit, but with like Mexican cultural heritage to it, go check out that fucking game.
And silly cartoon hijinks.
Yeah, and cartoon hijinks. It's got it all. That game fucking rules.
It's so good. All right, ended on a good note about something we like. We should start doing that on every podcast now. Yeah. When we're talking about a movie we don't like, ended on something we both collectively like.
Yeah, well, I mean, that just give people suggestions to do something else with their time. Like, hey, don't do that. Go get Grim Fandango on the PS4. It's been remastered. It has a director's commentary now. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
It's got director's commentary now. It's fucking rules. Go get that. Have a time.
Grim Fandango, guys. Go do it. All right. With that being said, which is one of my least favorite podcast / YouTube tropes. I hate it when people say that. All right. With that being said, for the Halloween's Forever crew, I'm Brian.
And I'm Manny Calavera.
All right. See you later, boy.
Bye.